Let's see what's happening. 14.4 full preview. For Terminus and Cleaver, we're reducing the stacks counts required to hit max value in order unique against other pen items. Fountain region has been tuned pretty conservatively over the years, and we see the ability to reduce downtime in base. Lethal tempo has been too heavily skewed towards early game power for middies for a bit too long. We're looking to reduce this power and then turn it around for the affected champions. Okay, so it means that if they're too weak, they're probably gonna buff the champs individually. Thank you, Jared Loans, for the Twitch Prime. As mentioned yesterday, looking at some nerfs to one item spikes for supports, making them a bit more consistent over game time, but also moving stack charges a bit earlier to improve lane gameplay. Range has been overperforming here, and we're looking to bring them down slightly, especially Bloodsong. We pulled back a milli runes for this patch, needed a little more time for validation and edge case testing. Casante. He's absorbing a lot of our focus right now and is overperforming. We're looking to add more counterplay to All Out, removing slows and increasing cities, reducing dash speed, partially compensate with some base stat changes. Smolder. A few quality of life changes here with Q and R. We're also nerfing rank 1 of W while still supporting early points of W if Smolder chooses. We're continuing to monitor the Sojourn AP build and are putting more power relatively in the explosion outputs rather than the naked W hits for this build. Rek'Sai. Intention here is to move Rek'Sai into more of a fighter and less of a one-shot assassin. We're cautiously returning Rek'Sai AoE knockup and monitoring how that goes. This also involves some more damage types into magic to reduce potency of lethality. This is similar to how they did with Briar. Briar right now has a lot of spells with that do magic damage because it's a nerf to lethality. Aesol. After the micro patch, Aesol is a bit too strong. We're giving him a light nerf to bring him more in line. We're still interested in seeing how Aesol players prefer the incentives for proactivity. Bard. Last patch we mentioned Bard was overperforming with Bloodsong tank builds and killing people on one item. We're looking to improve incentives for Bard to build AP. Fiora. We think it's appropriate for Fiora to have a partial success case when hitting players with W, but 50% attack speed slow has been too much. Waste. Illaoi benefited a bit too much from last patch. Mechanics changes can be hard to estimate. We're pulling back a bit. This is when they buffed the Illaoi's passive. Tentacle range. Kalista Varus. These two champs are dominating pro play right now, and we also fix a power positive back with Kalista dashing that we need to account for. Small and no nerf to Varus. Ari. Ari is still recovering from losing Airfrost. We're giving her some HP. She lost to make this more aggressive plays in the mid game and reward some of her rewarding moments WQ. This also is intended to slightly improve her ability to wave clear and roam. Jace. We rescripted his E to function more similar to Liar. Okay, this is very big. So Jace E had like a bug where a lot of champions would like dash forward, like JC would like fucking knock them back to Africa after they already moved. Like so many champions had this bug. I think this is going to severely like nerf the champion some interactions in Hyla especially. Kaisa. Putting back the buffs here and just focusing on usability improvements that are lightly power positive. Renekton. He's still kinda bad. Thunder Sky is just worse than Gorging covers for him. We're avoiding him, giving him too much power in lane. Trash. Also bad, we're trying to improve more his outputs so as not over-index in any particular place. I don't even know what this means, like, I don't know. Volibear. We're cautiously buffing Volibear. This is very important, okay? We generally don't think some of his gameplay is particularly high quality, which is why we've been cautious of him in general. Okay, so they're basically saying Volibear's whole gameplay and kit just sucks. He's boring to watch, boring to play against. That's why they keep him weak. I think it's kind of based. Like Renekton, sorry, Volibear kind of reminds me of Renekton. I don't know why Renekton wouldn't have the same argument, honestly. Renekton's like literally the same. And I think buffing Volibear is totally fine. Chad has been bad for a really long time. While Renekton, I don't know. Okay, so basically these are some explanations of why they're doing things. Now let's get to the details, okay? So first of all, Ari will get health growth up and QAP ratio up. Health growth up is very good for her because she is a very squishy champion, and because her best build right now is like Russian Leechbane. She lost a lot of AP. She lost a lot of HP from AP items. And then a QAP ratio, this is not 5% buff, this is 10% buff because her Q strikes twice. This is going to have most impact on wave clear. At level 9, like, you won't really need DMAT. This is just going to kill basically caster minions at level 9, which is very nice. Yeah. decent R buffs, I would say. Jace getting 280. Melee mana restore is gonna go up to 15, rank 1. So when you look at melee mana restore, this is only impactful in first rank because melee mana restore is something Jace uses only in lane. And he uses it, I would say, from level 1 to 9 mostly. And after that, he almost never really uses this anymore. So this is just like a pretty big early game buff. And, you know, if Jace, this is really good when Jace is winning the matchup because then Jace just, you know, pokes you under tower or whatever and then swaps to melee and hits the wave and gets like half mana back. So yeah, makes Jace more impressive when he's winning lane. This is melee W, damage tick, goes from 110 to 115. This is actually pretty big buff because it might look like it's a 5 damage buff, but it's not. This is like, I think, 40 damage buff or something like that because Jace W ticks like, I don't know, 6 to 8 times. I don't know exactly in my head. So yeah, if you can stick out the whole duration, which you usually don't, but if you can, it's a lot of damage added to Jace here. And then yeah. I think Jace buffs still seem kind of low, to be honest. These don't seem that big of buffs, I would say. Kai'Sa, our cast range is gonna go up by 500. This is just a joke, like honestly, like this is just a joke. Kai'Sa is still terrible. Lulu, very, very interesting buffs. So Q double hit damage is gonna go up by 25% AP scale, right? So this is a mid lane Lulu buff. This is a mid lane and top lane Lulu buff. It's not as big of a buff for support. E damage is gonna go up by 20 max rank. Again, a mid lane buff, because on mid lane you get more Lavis. Although, this is also support buff, because on support you probably max E, to be fair. Yeah, no, this is, actually no, this is fine for support though. E shield, also up by 20. So now Lulu E have same damage and same shield, so now you're kind of like more, you have more decision making to do whether you want to cast it for damage or shield yourself. Decent Lulu buffs. I don't think we're gonna see her mid though. It's not enough. I think, yeah, I think it's not enough. On PBE they had another buff which was W cooldown, but they didn't include it here. That's why I think this is just not enough. But I like it that they're buffing Lulu mid lane. Honestly, I like it. Renekton, Q champion healing goes up by 8 max rank, max level. And a bit more total base AD. So Renekton's gonna again heal a bit more in Q. He lost a lot of healing with Gorginker being gone from the game. E cooldown goes down to 10, so now you're even more inside. So now, wait, sorry. Renekton changed up the build from going W max lately, like the past year, because Riot once nerfed E cooldown or something like that and buffed it only early. This again makes it so you have more of a decision whether you want to max E now, because E goes down by ranks, or you want to max W again. I personally am really a big hater of Riot buffing Renekton E. I feel like this spell is pretty low cooldown. It is true though that Renekton did lose a lot of haste in the build because Gorgon can bring on and stuff, and Black Cleaver and blah blah blah. So he gets less haste on average right now. So kind of makes sense why they're buffing the cooldown, but I am just a big hater of Renekton. I wish this champion never got any buffs. I just hate playing against it. I think it's just a dumb stat tracker, kind of like Volibear. Our bonus health 50. This is the biggest buff is obviously rank 1 and 2 here. Rank 3 doesn't really matter. Soraka, passive move speed up to 20% to 90. Yeah, I guess Soraka is just gonna zoom. Q heal, up by 10. Placebo, R, down 10 seconds. Decent for solo Q especially. Since you wanna kinda cast R a lot. Fine Soraka buffs, I don't think they're that big though. Probably not gonna be played. Thresh, 3 armor. 20 base damage on E. I really like this change. So Thresh has a lot of options what he wants to max first. He's very versatile as a champion, and I feel like E max, I believe from my memory, something people don't do a lot. They usually do Q or W, mainly Q. This is again gonna make it so, hey, Thresh might consider maxing E first. This is very nice. And then R cooldown down, I think it's totally fine. I think Thresh R is just an underwhelming ultimate. Like, it's just a very underwhelming ultimate. It's strong at level 6, but it really falls off really hard later. Like, the damage is really underwhelming. It's just the slow, really, and the range is bad. And then the cast time on the ult also takes a long time to come up. Yeah, his ult is just, like, not that good of an ult, honestly. Thresh has probably, I would say, one of the worst ults in League of Legends. Volibear. So yeah, MS up, E cooldown down, this is just nice. MS up being nice is very good for jungle, Volibear. E cooldown is very good for top and jungle. R2 disable is a huge buff, even though you're losing duration here. The cooldown on the ability going down is way more spammable. You can use Volibear ult to just like, for example, if you play Volibear top lane, you can now use ult to just like ult into an enemy and just get a really good trait. And not necessarily kill the enemy, but make him low HP. And you can definitely do this way more now with a lower ult CD. RCC immunity removed, still unstoppable. Oh, wait, what does that mean? So basically this means that if Volibear R's... Okay, so if I understand correctly, this means that if Volibear R's while he's in the air, he's unstoppable, so the ult's still gonna go off as normally, but then when he lands, if something assisted him before, he's gonna be stunned after, right? So for example, if Volibear ults over a Veigar cage at max rank, I believe he would be stunned after. Maybe that's how it works, I could be wrong. Anyway, a Red and Soul Q bonus magic damage per 1 second are gonna go down by 5 base and 5 AP ratio. I think a Red and Soul will still be one of the best mid laners in low elo. Like, this is not enough. But yeah, it's damage down. It is what it is. Bart. I like what you're doing here. So, less armor growth for Bart. More attack speed for Bart. Passive damage is gonna go up via AP ratio. But there's gonna be less base damage via chimes. So basically, Tongue Bart is getting a hit here, and if you play AP Bart, he's getting probably a damage buff. And then Q damage is the same, like AP ratio up, base damage down. So Bart is getting a big nerf here, IMO. This is probably gonna be like 2% win rate in solo queue. I would be expecting. Maybe 1 or 2% easily. This is gonna nerf Bard tank builds and make him more of an AP champion. I think Bard is way more fair when he's an AP champion, because then you can actually kill him when he misplays and stuff like that. You know, you can burst him down. Right now, Bard is just bullshit. W attack to slow down by 25. Amazing. I think this is a really good change long term. This is going to flatten out the curve of Fiora players being better for an average player than for a high elo player a little bit. And I think, you know, this is just good for the game long term. Illaoi tentacle damage is gonna go down 15% total AD and base up. So yeah, it's gonna be basically tentacle damage nerf for Illaoi. A nerf like this impacts bruiser / more AD style of Illaoi a bit more than tank. But yeah, I think this is a good change. Illaoi will still be good for a lot of elos. Kalista rank base damage is gonna go down by 10 every rank. Per stack damage unchanged. So if I understand correctly, this is just the base damage of the E. So if you put 1 E onto the opponent, the base damage of the E, not like if you put the stacks, if you multiple stack, it doesn't really matter. It's the same. And this is nice, I guess. Early game nerf for Kalista, where she's most oppressive. Doesn't look like that big of a nerf. 10 damage, I don't know if that's enough. Like, usually Kalista always stacks a lot of Rans in fights. Bug fix, boots of speed now partially affects passive dash distance. Okay, nice. So tier 1 boots and Kalista are gonna be dashing you a bit more. Okay, 4 armor down. Decent early game nerf, pretty much. Especially for support. Q damage down by 5. That's really nothing. R root duration down by 0.5 to 2.3 to 0.35 or something like that. Decent, yeah. At least his R will not root you for God knows how long anymore. Honestly, the biggest nerf here is probably the armor. The Q nerf is really whatever. Yeah, the armor and the R are really the nerfs here. I think this is probably like 1% win rate down, maybe, or something like that, or maybe 2. I don't know. But honestly, like, the champion will still be very good for support, and yeah. Urgot works properly. Okay, cool. The bug fix. Varus. No, I want to say, like, I hate this change. Like, this is such a terrible change. So on PB, they had 20 damage off Q, which was an amazing change because it would be a nerf to lethality Varus. But by nerfing base AD, unless I'm mistaken, I am pretty sure this is a way bigger buff to attack speed Varus than it is for lethality Varus. Like, it has to be. Like, it has to be. Like, this barely affects lethality Varus, but it affects way more on hit. I have no idea why they're doing this. Zyra. Plant damage. down base by 4. Literally, whatever. Still one of the best supports in the game for low elo players. Compensation buffs here for Jungle Zara. Cassandra health up by 55, so they increase the stats. Mana up by 30 base rank, so easier early game. W armor MR ratio up by a lot, so if you get hit by Cassandra W, it's gonna do a lot of damage. But now all out Q no longer slows, very huge, so when he ults he won't slow anymore. This is massive. This gives him a lot more counterplay. All out W no longer has fast CD or cast time. Nice, and E-dash speeds are reduced. This is a nerf to Cassandra in highest level of plays, and probably whatever for an average Cassandra player in solo queue. This is good. Passive, yeah, Rek'Sai, just a lot of changes. Smolder, okay, this is a huge one, right? This is important now. So what happens to Smolder? Q target is dying while missile is in flight, will still grant Smolder a stack. This is a straight up buff to the champion, especially to bat Smolder players. He's gonna get probably between 5 to 10 more stacks per game via this change. Okay. Q at 125 stacks, percentage of missiles will go from 2.1% Dragon Practice to 1.1 plus 1.5 Dragon Practice stacks. So let me tell you what this means. This is a buff. Okay, in no matter what case, this is a buff. So in late game, Smolder will have slightly more missiles on Q once he gets to high amounts of stacks. This is a buff to the champion. W cooldown will go up by 1 second and down 1 by late game. I would say this is a nerf, because W is the ability you max last, and you don't put a lot of points into it. This is not as big of a nerf for probably mid lane as it is for ADC, but I would say this is a nerf. And it's not a big one. Honestly, it's really not a big one. You don't really use W off cooldown that much anyway. I think this is whatever. W base damage will go down by 20. And is going to also get total AD to bonus AD, which is a nerf. So W is losing a shit ton of damage. And this ability is used so much in early lane. This is a really strong ability to trade and make Smolder not so weak of a champion in early game. This is the biggest nerf, because it's going to make Smolder way worse in lane with this change. Now, if you play a free matchup, this won't really matter, because Smolder will be able to go even, and then he's going to be a scaling god. W explosion damage will get a 25% bonus AD and a bit better AP ratio. So the explosion damage will do more damage, but the explosion is really useless in most cases. It's only good when people are together. Maybe in a team fight it's going to make it so then it has more damage. But yeah, and then R will now cast even if Smolder dies during the cast time. This is amazing, because this is something I said that I wish they would implement into the game. The first day that I played Smolder, I noticed it, that you R and then the R disappears after Smolder dies, which is very bad. So, okay, what's the TLDR here? Basically, the biggest nerf is W base damage. W cooldown being nerf doesn't really matter. He's getting some compensation buffs here with Q missiles bigger and a bit more stacks per game, and the R, some nice quality of life changes. But the biggest change here is that in lane he's going to be much weaker. In tough matchups, even weaker than before. And is it enough? No, I don't. I think Smolder will continuously be broken next patch. Even, yeah, just the same. Champ is fine. Black Cleaver. Basically a buff, okay. Fountain Mana region, we go from 8.4 to 10.4, so slight buff to Fountain Mana region for health. Okay, nice. Fountain health region, not mana. Mana mage items will all get 5 plus haste, so we're talking about Malignance, Luden's Companion, and Seraph. I can't complain. I think this also makes the CDT boots a bit worse, and sword boots a bit better. I can't complain, honestly. Like, mages do like a lot of haste in their builds. I think this is a good change. Ravenous Hydra will now active benefit from your lifesteal. No, wait, active will now benefit 100%, 50% of your lifesteal. Okay. Who is this a buff to? Who even buys Ravenous Hydra? Like Fiora? I guess they just buff Fiora, and that's why they're nerfing her here. Shybreaker, passive MS now applies even if the damage is mitigated. Active MS decays over 3 seconds, now has a buff icon. Very, very light buffs to Shybreaker, a bit more mobility. Terminus, this item is getting a huge buff. Stacks will go now to 3. So if you have Rage Bait, you insta-stack this. And it's going to pin the same, so it's basically each stack is gonna pin more, so it's just a buff to the item. And it's gonna have a record bow in the build path, so the build path is also better. This item is really, really buffed. One of the biggest changes to this patch is lethal tempo being not nerfed, I would say murdered, honestly. I would say this is a murder to the Keystone. This will massively nerf Yon, massively nerf Yasuo, massively nerf Tryndamere, massively nerf Jax if he plays it. Maybe Aurelia. Is there any other champion that plays this? Am I missing something? Because it doesn't matter that lethal tempo is better late game. It doesn't. At that point, champions. Yeah, Mastery is also another one. Changda's another one. Yeah, Nocturne. Massive nerfs to these champions via this Keystone. It doesn't matter if you get more attack speed late game. In late game, you already have a lot of attack speed, okay? Already, with the current lethal tempo. This doesn't matter. This Keystone is really nerfed early levels, and I think it becomes even at around level 10 or 11. And that's already pretty... Like, this is past laning phase, basically. Which is why you need this Keystone. My prediction is you will see Yon and Yasuo buffs soon after this drops. I think Yon and Yasuo will get compensation buffs real fast when this drops. This is really big deal, man. This is like you lose. I think you lose 2 daggers level 1. If your lethal tempo is fully stacked, you lose 2 daggers. That's 600 gold. That is crazy. Support items, yeah, basically slightly nerfed to especially range characters, not bad. This we all saw. This is the patch.